Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tea with Publicity. It is episode 49. Holy hell. I don't know when we got here, how we got here, but we are here. Next week is 50, big 50 crazy. Today is a really cool episode because I had Emily DiDonato on. She is a model. She's currently pregnant. She launched a skincare brand. And what I thought was so interesting in our conversation is really digging into the ins and outs of the modeling industry and also just like society as a whole and the standards that are put on our bodies and our appearance. And it kind of reminded me of my time working in public relations. So I've been wanting to talk about my time in PR a little bit because everyone's always asking me about it. And it's something I like gloss over, but I've never really done like a deep dive on the pod talking about my time as a publicist. So today I'm going to answer some of your questions that you guys submitted, and we will get into that before my interview with Emily. Then I will do the Ask Alyssa segment, and then we are spilling the tea because Kravis is engaged. We saw it coming, but we'll talk about it in a little. Okay, so let's get into my history in PR. Emily, my producer, is on the second mic today. Hello.
How are you?
Good. I'm tired. I went to, okay, funny enough, rewind. Nick Tarani at our office.
Yes.
We're neighbors. We live 500 feet away.
Did you just figure that out? Or?
No, we know, but like we've never run into each other, which we always say is so weird. And today I'm on the subway platform and all of a sudden I hear, "What's up?" And I'm like, I just hear "What's up?" and I'm like, who's hitting on me on the subway? Because it was very like, just, no one talks to each other on the subway platform. And I turn around and it's Nick. And I'm like, oh my God. And
Finally.
so we rode the subway to work together.
That's so cute.
It was so cute. And then he's like, well, which stop do you get off at? And because you could either transfer and get to the station closer to our office, or you can get off like 5 blocks away and walk. So I'm like, oh, well, I transfer. And he's like, oh, no, I don't. So like at one time, like then we parted ways, which is so funny because we're going to the same destination, but we parted ways. And I was like, I'm going to go to Dunkin'. I want coffee this morning. It was so freaking cold outside today that the second I got out of the subway, I was like, Dunkin's too far. Starbucks is right here. I'm just running into Starbucks.
Wait, I don't understand how this all of a sudden happened. Like it just got, like the other day it was what, like 70, 80?
I need a winter coat. Like I was freezing.
I could have worn shorts 2 days ago.
I know. So all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just going to run into Starbucks, even though I don't like Starbucks. And I was like, you guys know me. I drink tea. Like I drink iced tea. But I was like, I want a fall beverage. Like because it was cold. And like that was the vibe that I was in.
Pumpkin spice.
So I was like, and I'm not a pumpkin spice person actually.
Oh,
but
really?
I was like, what could I get? So I went to the front. And I was like, can I get like a skinny vanilla latte with almond milk? And she's like, well, then, so not skinny. Because skinny means skim milk. But I asked for almond milk.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So I'm already such an amateur. Like, so I was like, yeah, okay. So almond milk latte with sugar-free vanilla. And she's like, how many pumps? And I was like,
I hate when they ask you that. Like, just do however you do it. I don't know the answer.
But also, I don't order fancy drinks, so I was like how many should I get? And she was like, well, how many do you want? And I was like, just not super sweet. She's like, okay. So I order, she goes, iced or hot? So I'm like, oh my God, this is so much. Like now I'm really stressed. So I was like, iced, which like kind of defeats the purpose of me getting a fall, like warm drink. So I get an iced vanilla almond latte. I took 2. First of all, it comes out, it's a venti, which is the biggest size. I did not order that. It's huge. It's so disgustingly sweet. It's just sitting at my desk and I'm like, I just spent like $8 to like for this fall dream, and now I have this disgusting ass like sugary thing at my desk.
Ugh, that's the worst.
So my morning's off to like, I've had like 3 sips of caffeine.
Not only that, but I'm also getting a seizure from this.
Oh, yeah, guys, if you're watching on YouTube and it looks like there's a strobe light in here, there is. For whatever reason, the fire alarm, like the noise isn't going off, but the light is flickering. So I'm sorry if you have like epilepsy, please just listen on podcasts because there's
I'm honestly like, I can't look at it.
You could put sunglasses on.
I know, I need them.
Okay, so let's get into my PR background. So there's so much, guys, that I can get into. I want to preface this by saying, and you guys have heard me say this on the podcast many a times, I am going to write a book because my life in PR was so crazy. It was so the devil wears Prada that I have never, on my old podcast, on this current podcast, publicly, I have never shared half of the stories that I want to share because I don't want to tease something that I one day want to write in a book, because then what's the incentive to read the book if I tell all of the dirt?
Yeah, that's so true.
So what I will do is there's a few things that I'm fine sharing that I could even retell in the book and you guys will enjoy. But some of the stories are just so insane. So like I've always had this hesitation of sharing because I don't want to say too much. Okay. But you guys know me. Can't keep my mouth shut. So the first question that someone wrote in that I'll just start with was how I got started. So I'll back it up. When I was in college, let me talk fast because I know I can go on forever. I always wanted to work with celebrities. I always wanted to work in entertainment. So my idea at the time was going into celebrity styling, and I wanted to be a celebrity stylist. This was the age of Rachel Zoe, where her TV show was on, and Brad Goreski, and I just thought it was so glamorous and cool, and I loved fashion. Fast forward, got an internship at Elle Magazine, realized rather quickly that I was not cut out for that world. Not that I didn't have like the grit, but I didn't have the love for fashion in the way these other people loved fashion. Like they were eat, sleep, breathe. They would be unpaid interns for 8 years if it meant getting a base salary job at $30,000 5 years later. Like people were just straight savage. And honestly, a lot of the people I know that work in fashion at that entry level came from like money, because you don't get paid for like years. You have to really work your way up the ladder to make absolutely nothing. And like that just wasn't glamorous to me. So I decided I still want to work in entertainment, but I want to get into PR. So I started taking entertainment PR internships in college, and I had a few. I was doing some celebrity news writing and reporting, and working with celebrity entertainment publicists. And then when I graduated college, I applied for a job at a small lifestyle like boutique publicist firm. And my first job was it was called a lifestyle assistant, but I was more like the office bitch. Like lifestyle assistant in the sense like I was supposed to be, most other companies call it an associate because assistant's kind of like a weird terminology, but nope. They called me the assistant. They acted like I was their personal assistant, not the office assistant. Yeah. And I was working mainly at that time on hospitality, so a lot of restaurants, but with restaurants come events. So like whenever one of the restaurants would put on an event, we were there. So that was a lot of celebrity facing stuff. And then I worked in events for high profile events. So doing like the red carpets at the VMAs after party. We did a Brad Pitt movie premiere after party. We did the Super Bowl Playboy party, the Maxim Super Bowl party. So my job
in New York.
This was all New York. This was it sounds glamorous. I was making $28,000. Like disgusting. I love to tell people that number because it's so shocking.
I thought like my old job was paying me horribly.
Well, that's
rough.
That's why I share that, because I'm like, I need to paint the picture.
Yeah. And
what I will say is my boss treated me well. There was my direct boss, and then there was the founder of the company, and they both treated me like shit, but my direct boss was like, I don't know, it was weird because when I first started, she was really nice to me. So I was like, ooh, like she likes me. And then I started noticing I was doing really weird things for her. Like she was getting married and she would call me over to her desk and be like, hey, like here's a USB port. Go to CVS and like do 1 hour photos and like print all of these photos for me. So I'm like, okay, thinking it's like a work task. I'd go to CVS, I'd print the photos. As they're printing, I noticed they're her engagement photos, her wedding photos, whatever. And then she'd be like, okay, now like make an album for me.
What?
Like she was making me do personal tasks.
Is that even allowed?
No, but I didn't know because it's my first job out of college.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, my boss is asking me to do something. Let me do it. She kept always making me do personal things. Okay, this is another thing that she did. Because in her head, she was like, this is my assistant. I'm not your assistant. I'm the company's lifestyle assistant in this role. I'm not your PA, whatever.
Especially if she doesn't own the company. Like, that's
No.
really weird that she's asking you
And
to do
now
personal
looking
shit.
back, she was probably like 27. Like she wasn't.
She probably was like, oh my God, there's this like new girl and like I'm going to make her do all of my personal shit.
I remember one time, she said to me, again, I didn't like know the boundary. I'm just like, this is my boss. She's telling me what to do. I'm going to do it. She said to me one day, I need you to make me a wedding dress fitting appointment at like Bergdorf's. So I'm like, okay. So I call. She's like, I need it for this Saturday. I'm like, okay. I call. I make the appointment for the time that she wants. I like G-chat her. Hey, you're confirmed. XYZ, whatever. Here's the information. That was on like a Tuesday. Saturday rolls around. I'm at brunch with my parents. They're visiting me in the city. And she texts me Saturday morning being like, what time is my appointment today? And my like stomach sinks because I'm like, I didn't write this down in my personal calendar because I sent her the information. And I was like, you know, that's when you just at that time, like I just like, I felt sick. And I'm out to brunch with my parents and they're like, put down your phone. And I'm like, no, my boss is texting me like she needs to know. So now I'm trying to call Bergdorf to like confirm the appointment. And like, keep in mind, for her wedding dress fitting, this has nothing to do with work. Like I shouldn't have even been doing this anyway.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know.
Did you tell your parents that day, like what you were calling for?
I think they were just like,
because like I feel like maybe they would have been like, wait, why are you doing this?
I think they also just like didn't get my job though in general, like PR. So I think maybe they didn't know if it was like super weird or not.
True.
But just like little things like that. And then she would always, I mean, she just also just treated me awfully. Like she was very much in the camp of, I'm going to make you cry. like one of those people that, you know, I think a lot of people see the way their bosses treated them. So then they treat the people that they manage that way. Whereas I've always been like, my boss is treating me like shit. So I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
I would never be the person to treat someone the way I'm being like, obviously treat others the way you would like to be treated, but not treat them the way you are being treated.
Yeah, like it was just so crazy. I'll get to another question now because I went on a bit of a tangent and maybe that would lead me into some more stories. Someone said, is the culture as toxic as movie/TV depictions make it out to be? In my situation, my first job was extremely toxic. In other situations, like the reason why I switched out of entertainment and celebrity PR was because there is a less toxic environment in non-entertainment roles, if that makes sense. So like my first job was entertainment PR. My second job was entertainment PR. My third job was consumer PR, and then my fourth job was consumer PR. I had 4 jobs in 5 years.
And what's consumer PR?
Consumer is more like corporate clients, like consumer products. So I worked on Johnson's Baby and Band-Aid and Neosporin and like J&J brands or P&G brands, like Secret deodorant. And that was more, first of all, the offices are different because they're like a little bit more buttoned up and they're more professional. Whereas when you're working on like spirit clients and, you know, like alcohol and restaurants, it's like more of a different kind of vibe, at least from my personal experience. That's not to say that's like an industry standard, but I found that working in smaller boutique agencies had more less structure and more hierarchical, like catty energy than working in like bigger corporate structures from my experience. So I think it's toxic in some cases and it's non-toxic in others, which is why I did make the switch. And like my job wasn't as glamorous when I switched to working on a baby brand. Well, I still also had a toxic boss in that situation. But I think sometimes you could find a boss that will micromanage you in any company. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you have a bad manager, you have a bad manager.
Yep.
Like I remember when I switched from entertainment to consumer, it was a really big learning curve for me because I went from working in really scrappy environments where my bosses would be like, we have a $5,000 budget to throw an event and you need to make it look like we have a $30,000 budget. So like make it happen. So, you know, I was scrappy in the sense I would like find the cheapest florist in New York, find furniture rentals, like, and make it look fantastic. And then I went to working on the consumer side where they would be like, we have $1 million budget. And I was like, what? Like I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I just had this boss who like really micromanaged me to the point where she wouldn't let me send emails without her on copy of every single email I sent.
Ugh. How long did you work there?
It gives me like, I get a pit just thinking about it.
PTSD.
I worked there almost 2 years or like a year and a half. And I'd say halfway through she left. And then I had a different manager and I was way happier.
I was going to ask, like, was she still CC'd on your emails after a full year?
I also felt like a little personally victimized by her because we did these things, like these client reports where we would need to send the client a 3-sentence update every Tuesday, let's say. Just updating like one highlight from the week. And every time I would write out one of these highlights, keep in mind 3 sentences, she would redline the whole thing back to me, tear it apart, completely tear it apart. And I almost was like, I can't win. Like, I'm writing a sentence. Like, I don't understand. I'm a strong writer. So I had this counterpart. And I started getting such an anxiety about sending these things because they were getting so, like, torn apart that I would send it to my counterpart. And I'd be like, can you help me write this week's, like, update? Because like whenever you do them, they get approved. And whenever I do them, they're torn apart. So my counterpart, Crystal, would literally write them for me. And then we would submit them and they would get completely torn apart.
Oh my God.
But when Crystal submitted them, as she was doing it, they wouldn't get any feedback at all. So it was the same person writing them, but mine were getting more feedback.
That is insane.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then I'm like, I can't win because I'm like, it was the situation where I had the right information, but I wasn't writing it in her voice.
Yeah.
I was writing it in my voice. But as long as the pertinent information is there, what's the problem? And I remember one day I just had this moment where we were in a conference room and I was at a breaking point and I said to her, like, can we please meet? And I was crying, and you know you never want to cry at work.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel like I can't win. Like, everything I do, you're redlining, and I feel like the information's there. And she kind of was like, we did have a turning point after that. She kind of was like, you know, the way I was managed always was like to be really hard on people, and it helped me get better. And I was like, well, that doesn't help me because I'm breaking down because now I'm scared to send an email. Like, I was actually making more typos and messing up more because I felt like I was under a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
I could literally get like anxious talking about it.
I know. I'm getting like stressed because I had a really horrible old job too. But it just really goes to show that like it takes time to find the right job, and like if you're not happy at your current job, this should just give you hope. Like you're so much happier now, I feel like.
And I always knew I wanted to work for myself for many reasons, and like one of them was I always say this, and it's a very cocky thing to say, but like I always felt like I knew more than my boss. And that's so messed up because I don't. Like, I want to put that out there. Like, I don't know more than people above me. But at the time in my head, I was like, these semantics, like, this is getting us nowhere.
It doesn't
You're wasting
matter
your time.
either.
I'm wasting my time. The correct information's there. Like, it just always, I wanted to have the final say to be like, this is what I'm sending to the client. And it's so funny because when she left, my new boss let me just completely own those updates and never checked them. And there was never a problem.
Yeah. Also, it's really important to learn how to talk to a client. And the fact that she wasn't able to teach you that, and like the fact that you didn't have any room to connect with the client yourself just isn't like, there's no learning curve there.
The second she left, I was running the account completely fine.
Yeah. No issues.
No issues.
I feel like pressure has a lot to do with making mistakes. Like,
But
having
it
that
also-
pressure over your head gives you more anxiety, and then it gives you more room for mistakes.
It also breaks your confidence, though, because you're like, wow, I'm awful at my job. And then the second she left, I was like, I'm good at my job. I'm doing completely fine.
Yeah.
And then I got really close with the client, and she trusted me, and the client would call me, and we were like, it was never me. But she broke my confidence so low that they gave me a warning because she would go to her boss and be like, Alyssa can't perform. And they basically had to give me a warning. Like, if you don't get better, like, we don't know how much longer you're going to be here. Oh. And I felt so stuck because I was like, she's controlling me. Oh my God. That was a very bad manager experience. So yeah, if you guys are in an experience like that, I saw actually my friend Amanda, Not Skinny But Not Fat, post this on her stories yesterday, and I thought it was the truest statement ever. She was like, a job isn't a marriage. You could leave. You're dating your job. You can get out and you can get a new one. Like, if you're being treated the way I'm describing currently, you don't have to just accept it because your boss is that way. Like, go get a different job. It's not like that anywhere. I've had fantastic managers after that who trusted me and respected me and let me manage things on my own. And it was completely different.
Yeah.
It's funny enough because my job before that one, when I was working in entertainment PR still, my old boss, Tammy, who to this day, I only worked for her for like about a year, but I still consider her a mentor because I really respect her as a business owner and a boss, and she just is like bad bitch energy.
I thought you were about to start shitting on her.
No.
And I was like, why would you say her name?
No.
Alyssa?
I really respect her. And she actually was the opposite, where I was 23. I started working for her and I was hired as a junior account executive. And after week 1, she goes, change your title. You're an account executive.
Wow.
And I didn't get a raise or anything, but she was like, you're not at junior level. And it was my second job out of college. I was running point on my own client brand. I was running point on Nicki Minaj's Moscato, Mix Cosmetics, running an entire spirits brand, securing the press, running the calls with men triple my age, running the entire client, doing the updates every week, doing the reports, doing everything for the brand. And she just trusted me to like run my own account. And then my job after that was the one where I was being micromanaged. So picture being at such a high level at such a young age, having all this creative control and trust, and then going to a position where like people are basically making you feel like your job's in jeopardy and you're so bad at what you do.
Wait, so why did you leave the one that was good? Or was it just her that was good?
It was, you know, it's funny because I could have like wrote it out with her, and like I said, I really respected her. It was more, I was over the entertainment industry at that point because it was a lot of like late nights, long hours. It's a grind, and events stop being less like glamorous when you're doing them all the time, you know? And it was just like a rat's race. And I just was like, I want a secure environment where we were in like a small little office. There was 5 of us. And I was like, I want like a company with like a coffee machine and like a, not that we didn't have, but you know what I mean? Like a communal kitchen. And I just wanted more of like a structured environment, and better benefits. And I was over the rat's race at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I would actually like to have Tammy on the podcast because she just signed a like NBA player from the Oklahoma Thunder, and she's worked with so many rappers and athletes, and she's just like a visionary. She's really incredible. So next time she's in New York, I would love to interview her. Okay, let me ask a few more questions because I don't want this intro to get too long. What personality traits are necessary for a career in PR? I think there's a big misconception that if you're a social person, you're going to thrive in PR. And I think that is like completely false. I don't know about any more because I haven't worked in the industry for quite some years, but you need to be an extremely strong writer. Very important because you wordsmith things, you come up with branding and messaging. You have to be extremely strategic and a forward thinker, and you have to have like the ability to see trends and like trend forecast. So I think it's less about being like, oh, I'm bubbly, I'm a Samantha from Sex and the City. No, it's more about can I get minimal pay and have my boss screaming at me, and are you ready to climb the ladder? Because you start off doing a lot of admin stuff and then you grow your way up to the higher strategic stuff. So it's a long game. Like any job, I think a lot of people now start jobs and expect to just like hit the ground running. Like you really have to work your way and climb your way up the ladder. And all these negative things, like said, I still love PR. Like I am a publicist through and through, like innately, but I would get some internships before you just decide on a career to figure out what sector of the business you like working in. What was your day-to-day like? Every day was different. Running client calls, sending updates. When I worked on the Johnson & Johnson business, it was way less pitching and way more strategy. So, for example, and a lot of influencer stuff. But now agencies are different because brands have a PR agency for press, an influencer marketing agency for influencers, a social media agency for social media. There's something else for ad sales. There's so many different like sectors, but when I worked in PR and influencers were really coming to the scene, most of my job when I was working on Johnson & Johnson brands were sourcing influencers, contracting them, and then helping them with their content creation for campaigns, and then helping with the messaging around that. So crafting, what hashtag will they be using? How can we make a campaign go viral? What look and feel do we want the content to look like? And so forth. So every day was different. In the beginning of my career, it was running around like a goose with my head cut off, getting my boss's coffee and getting screamed at and trying to unjam the printer. And then towards my end of the career, it was like leading calls and sitting in on strategy and pitching new business. Oh, a lot of people ask for day-to-day, which is funny. How do I transition my PR skills into a different industry? I think publicists are salespeople that just don't make commission on their sales. I could sell this water bottle to anyone. Like when you are a publicist, you have so many skill sets. Don't take that for granted. We basically are selling an image, selling a product to the masses. So I think it's great to go into sales. I think it's great to go into strategy, influencer marketing, digital, whatever kind of career you want to ricochet into next. Also, you're a publicist, so just sell yourself to the job that you're applying to and make them believe that they need you to help them. Like no one could better PR yourself than you can. Okay, I'm going to do a few more. Talk about NDAs. Talk about shows that were the worst and the pros and cons of the job. NDAs. Did I ever sign it? I did sign NDAs mostly around celebrities, but I also think it's just an understanding when you're in the industry. If you're working with a celebrity, you keep your mouth shut. Like you're trying to stop them from getting bad press. So why are you going to go out there and talk about your client and like leak information? It makes no sense. I've signed NDAs more so with like when I've like filmed some stuff with Bravo TV. Like you sign NDAs for reality TV a lot. I don't think I've really signed that many NDAs, which is why I'm going to spill the tea on in my book. Okay, last question. Then we're going to wrap this. Why did you leave? Why did you get into PR? Former PR pro myself. Well, I talked about why I got into it and why did I leave. I left because I always wanted to start my own business. I was super passionate about that. I knew I would. I thought my business would be different than what it ended up being, because at my very first job, I would say to my dad, I'm going to start my own agency one day. He was like, oh, okay. Like, he didn't doubt it, but he was like, all right. And then as I started working in PR agencies, I was like, I am never having a PR agency. These women are freaking nuts, the people that run these things. But I still had a desire to work for myself. So when I was at my third job, I started my blog Publicity, started my Instagram. As that started growing momentum, I started making money. The first year, I think I made like $5K. The second year, I made like $25K. The third year, I was making like a salary. And by the time I was like making a salary, I was banking money into a savings. And when I hit 100,000 followers, I was at my fourth job at this point, my fourth PR job. I hit 100,000 followers and I was like, I'm quitting.
Yeah, I mean,
and I quit on a whim.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, I quit on a whim too. Like, I kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And my parents were like, all right, like really think it through, like relax. And then I was in a meeting and I decided I'm quitting in April. And it was like a few months before April. And my boss sat us all down in a room and she's like, we lost the piece of business that we're working on. They decided to no longer sign with us. And I don't want you guys to think your job's in jeopardy, but you know, like that's a big chunk of change for the company to lose. And she basically was like, we need to start having conversations about what brand you're going to start working on now that they're gone.
And you were just like, bye-bye.
She was like,
you're in jeopardy. I'm not.
Yeah, she was like, and I want to talk about it. So I stayed in her office after and I was like, look, Nicole, I respect you and I don't want to have conversations about which brands I'm going to be working on when I know very well I'm quitting in 2 months. And she was like, okay, I respect it.
Did you quit in 2 months or then in there?
I was like, I'm not going to put my 2 weeks in because I want to get paid up until April. But I also don't want to be phony with you for 2 months. And she was like, she got it. She knew I was an influencer. They knew.
Yeah, they're like, this girl's getting a following. She's going to leave any second.
Yeah, and she was like, okay. So 2 weeks went by. Like finally, I put in my 2 weeks, quit. The next day, jetted off to Coachella, went to Paris, went to Miami. I was like on a high. And then I worked for myself for 2.5 years before starting here. Boom. That's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about PR. If you guys want me to do another episode where I deep dive into more, I can. There is so much. Like, I feel like this is just me scratching the surface. So let me know. And here's my conversation with Emily. We kind of do get into this kind of conversation, but about the modeling industry, which I think is freaking fascinating. And she's just absolutely wonderful. So after that, I will see you back here for Ask Alyssa. Okay, guys, I am here with my beautiful guest today, Emily DiDonato.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here.
I know. Finally we met. I was like being a little wishy-washy. You know how it goes with DMs.
The pandemic and things were happening. So we always knew we wanted to do it. So here we are.
Finally, we made it happen.
Exactly.
And there's so much going on in your life. You launched a skincare brand. You are pregnant. Do you feel like the pandemic changed everything for you? Because so much happened during that time, I imagine.
Yeah, I do feel like there's been like a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like, you know, launching the business and then being pregnant and then like, what is my life going to be like after all of this, or like on the other end of it? But is there really another end of it? Like, I have no idea. But dealing with all of those changes is definitely a lot.
So what people probably most know you for is being a model and like a legitimate model too. Like, you are on covers and runways and doing the thing.
Yeah, I feel like people know me from that, but it's funny. I feel like these days people know me from like YouTube or social media more. Like, I was talking to you about this earlier, but people will come up to you and be like, oh my God, like you taught me how to do my hair with a flat iron. Because like one of my videos on YouTube, that one has like 5 million views. And I'm like, that and many other things. But yes.
That's so funny. But I think, you know, there aren't that many like high-end models that I could say really bridge the gap between being like relatable, because a lot of like runway models are very elusive. Like you don't really know much about them. You don't like, you know, they're thin, but you're like, but did they work out? Or you don't really know how they got that way or why they're that way.
That's true. And that's by design for a lot of people. I mean, when I first started modeling, which was in 2009, that was very much like, people would always say to me, like agents and stuff would be like, you smile too much, like you give away too much, like you're too American. And I'm like, what am I supposed sorry. Like, I'm not gonna walk in and pull a French accent. But being like unknown and kind of mysterious was very much like part of the brand. But then over the last 5 to 6 years, like social media was, I mean, even more than that, social media became so important. And I was like, I mean, I can do that. I like doing stuff like that. But sometimes I do feel kind of different from some of my peers.
Well, you know what it is? Because I noticed this when I met a lot of fashion bloggers. A lot of them, their online persona wouldn't necessarily match their in-person persona. And I don't even mean that to be like, oh, they weren't nice. It's not that. But you can't tell if someone's shy by looking at a photo. Because you see them holding balloons and flowers and smiling, and you think, oh my gosh, they must be the friendliest person ever. They must be so outgoing. And then you meet them and they're like timid and not that friendly. And I feel like it's probably similar with models, where
it's like the opposite though. Like when I meet people in person, like, because people would know me from being a model and like, you know, being in commercials and stuff, and then I would meet them and speak to them and they'd be like, oh my god, I never expected you to sound like that.
Yes.
And then I'm like kind of this energetic, like bubbly person versus, you know, I feel like sometimes with influencers I've had the exact same thing where I meet them in person and they're so quiet and so shy, and then I look at their social and I'm like, who is that? Oh my god.
Do you know that's why I think TikTok is like supreme, because it gave, at least for me even, I had a hard time. I've always had this outgoing personality. I love to talk. I love to be a jokester. And I felt like what I needed to put on Instagram was to be brand friendly, to make money, because it was my job. Whereas once TikTok started, I just started being my like wacky self, and you feel so much more seen for who you are, and your audience gets to know you. So
Totally.
For you to be a model who's just seen in pictures, to show your personality, I'm sure people really resonate with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think over the years they definitely have, and I've enjoyed kind of sharing like the behind the scenes of what goes on, and like whether that's emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, like what's happening. So I do think it resonates, and I feel like it allowed me to connect with people so much more. Like, how much can you look at like a really great modeling photo and like post that on Instagram? Like, no one cares. Even when I post stuff like that, like it gets like no likes.
It's so true, because this week I did like more of like a fashion forward shoot, and like my engagement sucked on those pictures. People like when I'm just like out drinking and having fun.
Exactly. They want to see you. They can see through it.
Do you think being in an industry that's so focused, not even an industry, just a world, a society that's so focused on the way people look, did you always feel like you had to go an extra mile to prove to people, I'm not just a model, I'm not just a pretty face, like, hey guys, there's like a person in here?
I don't think I felt like I had to prove like that I'm not just a model. I've definitely and I have my own thing, like my own complex.
Yes.
Like I've definitely run into models like that who like go out of their way to like prove that they like read books and like are smart, and you're like, I never said you were not those things. For me, it was more so like I had such like low confidence to do like anything else, like to venture outside of modeling, meaning like I had such bad imposter syndrome, even with like being an influencer and posting on social, to like starting my skincare brand Covey. Like I would be like, oh, I'm just a model. Like people are going to be like, what is this like dumb girl like who never went to college, who has no experience? Like what does she know? That was definitely more of like more of my complex. Like I'd just be like, oh, I shouldn't speak here. Like I don't know. Like I'll just stick to being pretty and like
like you almost like played yourself into the whole I can't do more than this.
Yeah, exactly, because like you're kind of told for so long where to go, what to do, how to be, how to look, and then when people ask of something else of you, I was kind of like, are you sure you want to know what I think?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so that's like my biggest thing. Like I try so hard. Like when I go into meetings or like calls for work for like my skincare brand, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you're gonna say at least 3 things on this call, because otherwise I will be completely quiet.
You're just kind of like mentally trained to just sit and listen.
Yes, like I'm so good at like taking direction and like doing what I'm supposed to do, and then anything beyond that I'd be like,
it's so funny how our experiences shape us, because before my first few jobs were very much like Devil Wears Prada, where I speak when spoken to, don't ask questions, people yell at you and you just have to take it. And like that was like the environment, you know, the fashion industry, that's like kind of the environment I grew up in. And I even catch myself here where I'm working at a company that is known for being outspoken, known for being different, and I still find myself sometimes not like, I'm assertive when I need to be, but I will just like speak when spoken to type of thing.
Totally.
And I'll have to remind myself sometimes, like, no, you could pop your head into their office and say hello. They'd probably really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because it's a nice, normal thing to do. But in my head, I'm like, you're not allowed to talk to the boss.
Yeah, I completely know what you mean.
And you have to rewire that sometimes.
Totally. Yes. And like not overthink it and just like follow your gut and your instincts. But yeah, to like, it is hard for not to listen to those voices that tell you to like be quiet and to hide and like not speak.
Because it is hammered into you in some aspects. Like being in the fashion industry, I'm sure you see such a difference on sets now than you did when you first started.
Oh my God, totally.
Yeah.
It's like, crazy. Like my mom brought it up the other day and she was like, I'll never forget how they treated you.
Oh,
like,
my mom does the same thing. Oh my God.
Because people were just cruel. And it's funny because like I was talking to someone in the industry the other day about my pregnancy and he was like, well, you're going to get snatched after this, right? Like, what's the plan? And I was like, I don't think you're supposed to say that anymore. I'm almost like, it's almost refreshing because you're like, oh, wow, like no one says stuff like that.
But you're like,
anymore.
wow, I haven't heard that.
No. But like when I was younger, when I first started and like the types of conversations that would happen on set and the things that were said were just like crazy.
Like would people outwardly be like, oh, you need to lose 10 pounds?
People would just, yes. Yeah. They would be like, I remember I was in a fitting for a really big job and the job was in 2 days and the guy who was like the boss, the person, and I was really young, was like, it would be great if you could just lose 5 pounds by then. It would just be like, you would just be like that much better.
So in other words, let me just not eat for 2 days so I could fit your, standards.
But I was so young that I was like, for sure.
Oh, of course.
I'll figure out how to do that. 100%. And I remember I like passed out on the treadmill like that day because I was like running like a maniac and like not eating anything because I was just like, like we were just saying, I just was like, I would do what I'm told. And if that's what needs to be done for the job. And of course, there's a million layers beneath that because I thought I was just like doing my job. But of course, there was like mental health and like an eating disorder and like many other things happening there. But yeah, people would just straight up be like, you need to lose weight. You should give up carbs. Like that's what this person did. And they lost weight, or like, I can't shoot you when you're fat like this, like straight up. And I would just be there like, and then you have to sit on set for the rest of the day with these people.
And you know what else? It's fear-based because as the person, although you are like, they shouldn't be talking to me like this, you're like, either I do what they say or I lose my job and therefore I have no income. So it's all based in this like weird, it's all packaged up in a way where you almost can't say anything because if you do, then you lose the job and then you're in a lose-lose either way. So it's like either you do what they want you to do or you don't have the job.
Yeah, kind of. And then you go and get into this kind of circle where you're like, well, I chose to do this job and this is part of the job. Just like any job, there's requirements. But at the end of the day, if you want to like survive, you can't live like that. Like in the long term. No, it was just too tough on me.
So when did you start? Because I assume it happened, like advocating for yourself more and just like setting boundaries and being like, I'm not really comfortable with that.
Yeah. I mean, I went through a period where I was really, really thin and not eating very much, over exercising. And I had gotten to like the thinnest I had ever been. And I was going to work and people were telling me that I still wasn't looking very good because I wasn't. I was like so unhealthy and sad looking. Like so many people would be like, this actually doesn't look very good on you. And I was like, how am I going to win this game? I don't understand. I got super burnt out after that. Like I would call that, like I kind of had a mini mental breakdown because I was just getting negative feedback and my career wasn't going the way that I wanted. And I was totally miserable and spiraling. So I actually went home to upstate New York. And I remember I stayed with my parents for a few months months and I thought I was going to quit, honestly, because it was still early on in my career. My friends were still in college and I was like, I could still just go do that. Like,
yeah,
maybe
I'm young enough to completely pivot.
I could. And I was like, and this is just making me crazy. And I gained a bunch of weight back, like, and then some, because like I think my body was just like, finally, we're eating again. Yay, that's great. And then I was like, you know what? I've come this far. I'm going to try to give it another go. And I remember saying to my agency, and one agent in particular who, like, I mean, thank God for him. He's the reason why I got as far as I did at this point. Was I was just like, this just has to be it. You got to work with like what I'm bringing to the table here. I want to do it. He wanted to do it. He was passionate about me, like, meaning like work on my career. But I was like, I just like need to work with what I've got. Like, I was like, I would rather be sending clients the most unflattering Polaroids and like my actual weight on the scale. Because if then at least if they say, great, we want her, they know exactly what they're getting.
Yes.
As opposed to like sending the best picture of like the best moment or the best Polaroid. Like,
do you know I do this on dating apps now?
No way!
I like post my ugliest pictures.
That's actually genius, because then
I'm like, I'd rather them be like, wow, she's prettier in person than be one of those girls that they're like, wow, she edited her photos and like she catfished me.
That's amazing strategy.
Because I'm like, you know what? Like, I'd rather them be impressed than me feel insecure going in being like, I posted a face-tuned picture to my dating app and I don't freaking look like that.
Oh, that's a lose situation.
Lose.
Yeah. I love that. So yeah, that's where I kind of got to. So luckily I did have an agent who was receptive to that, because I think a lot of other agencies would have been like, well, we don't care, then on to the next girl. But
yeah, it's about the team.
Yeah.
Like, I had met with managers before where instantly, like before I came here, actually, I was kind of like shopping around for managers, and I would meet with this one agency that worked with tons of influencers in the city, and they were all like blonde, skinny girls. And I made it a point in my meetings to be like, I am not your current client. Like, I am brunette, I'm 5'3", I'm curvy. Like, I need someone that's going to advocate for me. And it's important to find a team that like sees your vision
totally
and has your back, because it's really tough when money's involved. People just want a paycheck and a commission, and they don't really care about you sometimes.
Totally. I think someone seeing the long-term vision of like where you see your personal brand or like career going is so important.
Totally. So now being pregnant and gaining weight, clearly with a child you have to, does that mess with your body image at all?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, I feel like I think the beginning was the hardest, because like you just see your body changing slowly every single day, and you're like, I'm not doing anything different, because in the beginning you're just kind of like doing your thing and you watch your body change. And I actually just the other day saw like a horrific paparazzi photo of me like walking down the street, and I was so triggered by it, because I was like, oh my God, I look huge. Like, I was like, but I have a huge belly. Like, what do I expect?
There's a child in there.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like, it is what it is. And of course I've gained a little bit of weight.
It's not even that though. Sometimes it's just lighting.
I know. It was just like a bad picture and a bad day. I showed it to my husband and he was like, this is not your best moment. And I was like, you're right.
You don't look like that. Yeah. No, like sometimes, honestly, I could take pictures in different lighting on the same day, and one of them I look skinny and normal, and then the other one I'm like, that is the most disgusting human I've ever, like, you just, it's
Totally.
a toss up.
I think like the hardest thing is like there's a certain lack of control that goes into it, right? Because like your body kind of just has to do its thing. And I feel like it's been the ultimate test in terms of like eating intuitively and body positivity, because it's like, I can't control what's happening here. Can I still love my body even though I can't look at it and be like, oh, like I've gained weight. Let me go do X, Y, and Z and start eating this and start working out with this person again, you know? Because like for myself, like my model brain is like, I just like know what to do when I've like gained weight. I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm just gonna go do this, this, and this.
That diet brain, is so strong.
Oh
because I've done the whole like counting calories thing before, and sometimes like I will catch myself, because now I'm trying to like not do that. Like you said, like food freedom.
Yeah,
I will catch myself every day, I'd say, like looking at something and being like, oh, that's 120 calories. Oh, that's 30 I know everything. But and I'll be like, shh, do you want it? Are you hungry? What do you need?
Yeah.
And it's really tough, because it's like this industry that life, the society is just pounded into us, all of these things. And it's really hard to rewire.
It's so hard to rewire. And I've like, I'm the same. Like I look at food still with that diet brain. That's like such a perfect way to put it.
Yep.
And then I can't help myself but compare myself to like other influencers and models who like, I don't know, I see pictures of other models who are posting like 2 days postpartum
Like
and like
Emrata.
it's so triggering. And I know that that's like my work to do, you know, that's not like someone else's fault because they look incredible postpartum.
Totally.
But I'm like, oh my God, like what am I gonna look like? Like what do I look like now? Like I don't look like, you know, people will be like, oh my God, she's all bump, like all those terms that come up, and I'm just like, I'm not, but that's okay. That's okay.
I get what you're saying. Well, I think though for me, which probably is good for when I get pregnant, I actually look at the people who bounce back like the next week, and in my head, instead of being like, oh my God, that's going to happen for me, I'm like, that is so rare that they're like that I'm like, that's just never going to be the reality.
That's kind of the same path I'm taking as well. I'm like, I just know I'm not going to be one of those people waking up. Also, I don't even think I'm going to be wanting to take a mirror selfie like at the hospital. When you see those ones on Instagram, I'm like, I just know that's not going to be me.
I agree. It's like there's certain things like when I look at body positivity bloggers, influencers, TikTokers, whatever they may be, I give so much credit to the girls that like are posting their cellulite and pinching their skin, because as much as I want to preach like being comfortable in your skin, I feel like I'd be lying because I'm not always comfortable.
Totally.
So for me, it's like I can't pinch my fat and be like, look, I feel great.
No.
Because I don't. So for me, it's like a lie if I'm to do something like that. But the people that can, I'm like, you are the bravest human in the world.
Totally. I completely relate to that. And I feel like that's why anytime I talk about body positivity in any way, I'm always like, this is my journey with it, because it's always different. Like I have moments where I'm doing okay, even in my pregnancy. And then there are moments where I'm like, I get this baby out of me. I want to go run 12 miles and like eat celery, my evil diet brain switching on. So it's not always perfect.
I think people almost don't talk about that enough with any kind of journey in anything. It's like you never just, some people may, from my experience, you never just turn a page and never look back. It's like you have to fight every single day to keep thinking the right way, so you're not like reverting back to old patterns.
Yeah, the dialogue continues. Like I feel like I'm still fighting like those voices and like negative thoughts that creep in, you know? It's part of it.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
To switch gears a lot of it, I remember hearing a story of yours of how you met your husband.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember where I listened to it. It was on a podcast a while ago, but I want my listeners to hear, because my dream, spoiler alert, is to meet someone on a plane. And I am notoriously known, my followers know, for meeting people on planes, women.
Yeah, I do the same.
I have a bet. We all follow each other on Instagram. Every single time I'm on a flight, I make a best friend. And I'm like, when's it going to be a guy sitting next to me? It's always just like a millennial girl who becomes my bestie. So I want to hear your story, because that is like the ultimate dream.
Yeah. So I met my husband on an airplane. We sat next to each other. So we were both flying from New York to Denver for work. I was going to shoot the cover of Vogue Australia, and he was going for like a work ski trip. We sat next to each other, which was really crazy because I had a new flight. My original one got canceled, so this was the one that I got on. So it really was like a fate situation. Yeah. We sat next to each other. I slept the first half of the flight, woke up, and then we spoke the second half of the flight.
So how did you go into speaking, and did you know you wanted to speak?
So I did check him out when he got on. Like I remember it so vividly because I checked him out. He was on the phone. He was talking really loud. I was looking at his computer because I wanted to see what he was working on.
Spy.
I'm such a spy.
I read their emails.
Yeah, same. And I know people do that to me too. Like I'm so nosy, and I also always meet people on airplanes, like and keep in touch with them. I'm one of those people.
So maybe this is my my
This could
destiny.
be.
Because I'm telling you, I was reading the woman next to me. She was fighting with her boyfriend. I know everything. And then I always try to find a way to broach talking to them because I'm an anxious flyer.
Yeah.
So I like to talk. So then like halfway through, if they like move a little, I'll be like, oh, sorry, do you want to get up? And then they'll take out their headphones. And then I'm in there.
There's your opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing he said to me was not a very good pickup line. He was like, did you just order a beer? Because I ordered a Sprite. Not a good pickup line.
No.
But he was like, I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, he needed something.
He needed something. And then we started talking. We had a ton in common. We were both from upstate New York. We lived on the same block in New York, and we had mutual friends.
Oh, my God.
So we were kind of like, oh, this is interesting. We exchanged numbers, and he continued to call and text me for like 2 months after that. Like, he was very persistent.
Well, he's like, I just met a model. We have all this in common, and she's going to shoot Vogue. So he's like, I can't blow this.
Yeah, I'm glad he was persistent because I was like so busy working and traveling, and I was just kind of like, whatever. This guy keeps like, he would text me and be like, oh, cool, like,
Yeah, like
not
nice.
much, just like in Paris working, like, see you later. And he was like, I was trying, but like you weren't really catching on. And then I invited him to my birthday party in New York when I got back, and he came, and then we like basically were dating ever since. But yeah, I always say to people who are single, like, you have to talk. I was always the kind of person, like, I'll talk to anyone sitting next to me, and it sounds like you're that type of person
Totally.
too. And it's really helpful. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl, old, young. Like, I'm like, what's up?
I think though, if it's a guy, I'm probably more timid than if I don't know, because it's always girls. I'm telling you, this is like my life story at this point. I have like 10 plain friends.
That's amazing.
It's so funny, but maybe this is my destiny.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to meet
Gotta
someone
travel
on a plane. I know. That is like the best way to meet someone, though.
No, it definitely was. And it's like continues to be like a part of our story. Then we
Yeah.
got married in Colorado. Like, we've really embraced
You're
it.
like, yeah, and then we got married on a plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cute. You got married in Colorado.
Yeah,
and now
like,
you're
we
welcoming
kept
a
it up.
baby.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know the gender or no?
It's a girl. Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I know. It'll be good.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's such a nice, like, stage in life to kind of, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh, I'm 32.
Oh, really? Cool.
Because
Amazing.
I figured, because when you said you moved to the city 2009,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's when I had graduated
High school.
And if you didn't go to college, then you definitely were
Exactly.
same time. Do you ever like feel like you missed out by not going to college, or no, because you literally traveled the world?
No, I definitely felt like I missed out. I mean, at the time, aggressively felt like I missed out.
Yeah.
Like, I had really bad FOMO. And I mean,
When your friends are at like frat parties and football games.
exactly. Like, my friends were all posting like in frat houses, like in their basements playing beer pong, and I was like in Paris, and I'm just like, I wish I was there.
And you probably
People would be like, "You're
don't
crazy."
even like, you probably don't even appreciate traveling as much then.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like, it really, youth truly is wasted on the young. Like, I always just wanted to come home so badly, and I didn't grow up traveling at all. So like, I only started traveling internationally when I started modeling, and it all felt so much and so like different. And when I would get into a new place, I'd be like, it was so jarring for me. So I would always just like stay in my hotel room and then like go to work and then go home. Like, I was so bad at exploring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely felt that FOMO. And then I went to Colombia as an adult when I was 27 for like 2 years, which was great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I like, because I always wanted kind of that experience, and I had been modeling for a while, and I was like, I just want to see if I can kind of do it.
Yeah.
And then I went, and I did pretty well. I was like, oh, college, like school generally is so much easier as an adult, because
Yeah,
you're
that's
like,
true.
oh, you just like study and do what
Because
you're
you're
supposed to.
actually there because you chose to go. That's why.
Which was a great experience. And then after that, after I got a couple of A's, I was like, I think I'm good. I was like, I get it.
I can do it.
I'm fine. It was a real confidence boost, though, for sure.
So how did you go from not going to college, going to Columbia, launching a skincare business?
Yeah. So that I started working on that with my business partner over 3 years ago. I had loved beauty, loved skincare, used a million products. Like, my routine was so complicated and crazy. Same with my business partner. She's also my best friend. We were traveling together, and we would lug our stuff everywhere with us, and we'd be like, we don't even know what any of this does or why we need to use it.
Same.
But like, we get so much stuff, and we just put it in the regime.
Well, then you feel like, I feel like, okay, as someone that gets beauty packages sent to me all the
Totally.
time, I've always said this. I'm like, this is one of the most cluttered markets in the sense that you're saying you're number one in the market. You're saying you're number one.
Yeah.
What actually works? What type of skin do I have? Like, it's really tough as a consumer to know what to use and what works for you.
And that was like myself and my business partner, Christina. We did 3 years of research, and we realized like those were the key questions people were asking, which were like, they didn't know what products they needed in their routine. They didn't know if they worked together, if they paired together, and they didn't know the order they used them in. So that's why we created the Covey routine. So it's just 3 simple steps that were formulated to be used together. Like, this is your foundation of your routine. Easier. Like, just start here. You can add, you need your SPF, like do those things, but like start here with in terms of like your 101 routine. And we partner with a dermatologist, Dr. Julie Rusak, who's my personal derm here in New York, to help us formulate them. And it's been great, but it was a long journey and like took so long. And we tested it on over 150 different people. Like, it was a very long journey.
Well, you have beautiful skin.
Thank you.
I trust it.
Thank you.
Do you feel like pregnancy's made your skin better or worse?
I think a little bit of both.
Because I don't see a freaking blemish in sight. Like,
I had some acne in the beginning, like it was, and I didn't have acne growing up, but it definitely did happen in the beginning. And then since then, it's just kind of cruising along.
Leveled out.
But I definitely keep it really simple and use like clean, non-toxic products and just like keep it simple and keep it consistent.
With my skin, it is like a journey for me as well, because I went off birth control for a few years and I started getting like cystic acne, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this just when around my period I'd get like one on my chin, like the under the skin. And recently I had to go back on birth control for like a cyst, and my skin's been amazing ever since I went back on it. And I'm like, I forgot how much this actually clears up your skin. But for me, it's actually funny because the less I use, the better sometimes I feel like my skin is. So something that's like a 3-step process for me is perfect. When I was using 10 freaking things, I felt like a grease ball. My skin was not necessarily like doing better with it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt as well. Like, whenever someone would recommend a product, I would buy it, I would use it, add it to my regime, and then I would go to work, and like makeup artists that I would work with consistently would be like, what are you doing now? Because it would be like flaking, it would be dry, and I'd be like, I'm using like all the best stuff.
Yeah, like, I'm using La Mer.
Yeah, but like I had no idea how to use it, in what order, if it worked well with the other products that I was using. And I really just realized that like simplifying it is like absolutely the key. Like, and the more I complicated it, the worse my skin got and the more overwhelmed I felt. So, and I was not alone in that.
Do you see yourself expanding the skincare line or business, or do you see yourself doing something else down the road too, like a separate venture?
No, we definitely plan on expanding, but the thing is with Covey is that we're going to make sure that we only launch skincare essentials. These are things that your derm would recommend, something that you use daily, is like foundational in your routine. Like, there'll be no kind of fluffier products.
Like a body lotion.
Yeah. Yeah, like something like that.
Like something that I get what you're saying, like something that's like you use, it's not, like you said, fluffy. It's just basic. This is what's good for you. This is what works.
Exactly. Like, just simple, effective, and like works in your routine. But yes, we do plan on expanding, but we'll definitely never be one of those brands with like a launch every month or anything like that.
Yeah, I know, because it kind of makes it hard to trust the brand then, because you're like, I thought this last launch was the best product you've ever had.
No, definitely not. Like, we're really thoughtful about it, and like I listen to my audiences and Covey's audiences as well in terms of what people want and what they're asking for, and we already are working on like what those products are and what people have asked for. So, and it's nice because I just constantly have people telling me like, I like this product but wish it did X, Y, and Z, or like I wish my product did this. So we kind of have a like built-in focus group at all times, so it's good.
That's the one thing that's great about getting like feedback from your community, because you literally could use them as a focus group.
Totally.
I use my community all the time. I'm like,
They're
put
amazing.
up polls. Like, it's just such an easy way to get feedback without just like trying to guess yourself, like, where do I go next?
Totally. And that goes for anything from like skincare to like life stuff, like for suggestions. Like, people are just there and want to help. So it's amazing.
Totally. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And where can everyone follow you and Covey and everything?
You can follow me at Emily DiDonato, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and then Covey is just at Covey. That's it, I think.
I love it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, guys, before we get into the Ask Alyssa segment, I wanted to tell you about the Barstool Sports Store. If you've bought my merch, I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure you've looked at it. And since fall is here, you could shop all of our best-selling hoodies in the Barstool Sports store at store.barstoolsports.com. And if you guys want my stuff specifically, it's store.barstoolsports.com/publicity to shop all my stuff. Oh, and by the way, now that I'm talking about it, I have new fall merch launching. I think we're going to do it Black Friday, so you can get it at a discount, and then everything will ship before Christmas. So that's the news there. And yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that because you better be repping some of my stuff. Get it now before the new stuff launches because it might be going away. I don't know how long it's going to be on there. So it is store.barstoolsports.com. And now let's get into Ask Alyssa. Okay, guys, we have another long one today, but you know I like all of the information. So this person said, Ask Alyssa. This one may be a little long. My fiance and I have been together for 3.5 years, and we were friends for a year prior to us both dating. We met in his college town, and shortly after us becoming friends, he moved to a different state. After us dating for a year, long distance, my company was able to move me to his state to be with him. When I was still in said college town, I became friends with some of his friends, but they were always his friends first. There is this girl, let's call her Sandy, who has been friends with my fiance longer than I have, and they have had a sexual past together. Sandy is now moving to our state a few hours away and is calling and texting my fiance to try to get advice and meet up with him. She messaged him last night while at a bar, a little tipsy, I'm sure, letting him know she is driving to our state today. She asked him where we live so she could find a hotel nearby because she wanted to go out with us tonight. Side note, I haven't seen my fiance since Thursday because I've been out of town for work, so I'm exhausted. I'm not thrilled that he kind of made plans for us to hang out and kind of cornering me into saying yes. I was upset and expressed my concerns, and he told me I was overreacting and being jealous. He then tried to calm me down by letting me read their conversation. First, their conversation started yesterday, and the first thing he said to her was that he was going to a city near hers while I am out of town for a birthday so he could introduce her to his friends near her while I'm not there. He's telling me I shouldn't be concerned and that he loves me so much, but this is the second time he has had a conversation with Sandy and leaving out details until I find them out later. Can you give me advice on how I should approach this? Also, she has my contact info and social media where she can contact me, but she still only contacts my fiance. Even though my fiance says how much she wants to see me, the two of us were never really individually close. We mostly just snapped each other a few years ago, but haven't really talked ever since. She's also just recently divorced. Let me know if you can give some advice. I love my fiance with all my heart. I just question her intentions. I question her intentions too.
I do too.
Especially if she's recently divorced.
Recently divorced, texting him and not her. I mean, I get it because you were friends with her first, but it's a respect thing, and it's also like you can't trust the fact that she's like, oh, I want to see her. Like, that's just a nice thing you say when you want to see him.
I just agree, and she should put you in the text.
Group chat.
I'm like trying to think because obviously I'm not in a relationship, but my sister is, and I'm trying to think like if someone kept reaching out to my sister, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband,
that you had a
past with him. I feel like the person normally would just chat them both in a group and be like, hey, I'm coming to town. Like, would love to see you guys. It's a respect thing. I do believe your fiance is potentially like a little naive to the fact that she maybe likes him because he is being like, here's my text. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe maybe on his part it is completely innocent, and also he might be naive to being like, no, we're just friends, it's nothing, like I don't care about her, but I don't trust her intentions. So I think you can maybe say to your fiance, hey, you know, moving forward, next time she texts you, why don't you include me in a group chat so the three of us could have conversations and make plans together. It would just make me feel a little bit more comfortable if she realized that you were like lumping me in. And I think that's a good way for them both to kind of send a message to her. Like, we're a unit. And if you want to hang out with us as a couple, this is how we're going to communicate.
Yeah, that's really important. Like, the fact that they are a unit. That's a really good comment because if they're a unit, then he should be comfortable doing that. Yep. And she'll see it on her
end.
And
he has nothing to hide. It sounds like he doesn't. I feel like he wouldn't even mind doing that. He'd be like, yeah, like whatever.
Yeah.
Because he's showing you his text anyway. Like, I don't believe he is hiding something. So I would just maybe have a conversation and be like, maybe this would make me feel a little more comfortable, just to let her know that I'm aware that you're talking and that it's not this private thing. And I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of that could maybe make it a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask Alyssa. Hey girl, I'm from Ontario, Canada, and I just got offered a job with an NHL team in another province. This is an amazing opportunity, but I feel like if I go, I am letting so many people down. My boyfriend of almost 4 years is fully on board and would be coming with me, but he wouldn't have a job. I just feel like if I were to go, I am affecting everyone's life, like his friends, and family. I would love to hear your thoughts and advice. You are so inspiring, and I love the pod. Take the job. If your boyfriend's willing to go with you, that's his choice to leave his friends and family, and he's making that commitment, and then he can get a job in the city once you guys are there. I don't think you should take on the burden of him making a choice. Like, you wrote this in at the end of September, so I'm sure you've made up your mind by now. So I would love an update, because I'm curious if you freaking took the job, but I really, really, really hope you did, because to me, it sounds like an opportunity. One, it's with the NHL. Two, it sounds like it's something you're super excited about. And you can't live your life worrying about what other people are going to think, because at the end of the day, everyone's kind of selfish and makes decisions for themselves. And this sounds like a good career move for you. So I hope you took it. Okay. Last one. Here is an Ask Alyssa for you, as I truly value your opinion and feel like we have a similar thought process. I've been dating my boyfriend for 5 years and we are solid. He has an amazing long-term friendships with his buddies from high school. We are in our 30s. From the very beginning, I never had any issues with the guys. They, quote, love me and love us together. But I also knew it was important for my own sanity to get in with the girls of the group. Unfortunately, things just never clicked. While it has always been cordial and friendly, the relationships that I had hoped for never developed. I feel that recently one girl in particular, the girlfriend of my boyfriend's best friend, has become really fake towards me. Everything from the way she hugs me hello to small comments or questions she asks me tend to feel super fake and borderline rude. I try to be self-aware. I know I have some jealousy issues. Jealous that she is engaged, jealous that they own a home, and that she is a size 0 and looks like a model. I could go on. But lately, every time I see her, I leave this situation really upset. Do I address this with her and risk the pleasantries we do have, or just try to get over it knowing that this girl is not going anywhere, and neither am I? Okay, because you mentioned you have jealousy issues, I wonder if you're unintentionally being snarky towards her being engaged and being thin, and maybe that's making her not like you as a result. Like, maybe, again, I have no idea, I'm just assuming, maybe she eats something and you make a comment like, oh, wish I could eat that, or maybe she is engaged and you make a comment about not being engaged. Potentially look at yourself and realize, like, are you saying things that might be off-putting to her that are making her in turn not like you as much? If you're not doing those things and that's not something you're doing at all, and you do tend to be jealous, are you maybe also like reading the situation wrong, like assuming she doesn't like you when maybe you're just feeling that way about yourself? I would go into it with a fresh perspective. I don't think you need to address things with her because it can be awkward, but maybe go into your next few interactions with a different energy and see if she meets you with that energy. Like, if you're bubbly and nice and happy to her, see how she responds to that, and maybe you two could have a different interaction. Sometimes I feel like when there's like an elephant in the room, you both kind of go in with awkward energy, and so it's just never going to get better. It's just going to keep getting more awkward. But maybe just try to go into it with like a fresh perspective and see if she has a different response to your presence. I don't know, though. I would look inward, too, and realize if you're doing anything. And I'm not saying you are, by the way. I'm just curious, because I know sometimes if we're not happy about something in our lives, we take it out in the people around us. So I just challenge you to look at that a little bit.
That was good.
That was that. All right, guys. One last segment for today. We are going to spill the tea. The strobe light is still going off in here.
I can't.
Like, I'm just using it's just part of me now.
Yeah.
At this point. Okay, Courtney, Travis, aka Kravis, they are engaged. We called it. We knew it. No, I don't think anyone's surprised. I think what's most exciting is that this is Courtney's first engagement. And she's 41, I think, 42 or 40. And she's engaged for the first time. It's so funny, like, seeing her with the ring. You know, we've seen Chloe with Lamar and Tristan and this and that. And we've seen Kim and we've seen Kylie even with Travis have a baby. I guess not be engaged. But we've seen all of the sisters go through this. And now finally, Courtney, the oldest one, like, it is her time. She looks so happy. I'm not surprised at all. I thought they would definitely get married. And I bet they'll welcome little babies.
Oh, I hope.
And I'm most excited for a Kravis wedding.
Oh
because
my God, it's going to be sick.
I know I did this whole TikTok about, like, this is how I'm envisioning their wedding.
I saw that.
And yeah, TikTok took it down for adult nudity. Like, what the like, why? Because she has an ass in the photo. She has a big butt. So they took it down for adult nudity. Like, I don't understand. But yeah, I'm super thrilled for them. And her ring is the ring that I want, except, like, way big. And yeah, I just think it's wonderful. And I really am happy for them. I think they've been friends for years. And I'm not surprised it moved this quickly at all. We saw this. I mean, their comments on each other's posts were like, you know, forever. Yeah. I want your skull. Like, literally.
I hate those comments. They make me cringe, but I get it. Like, it's their little vibe together.
Yeah. And there was a discussion in my Facebook group about Courtney changing her style for Travis.
Did she?
Oh, my God. Yeah. She went from just, like, she was kind of more, like, tailored of a dresser. And now she's, like, punk rock, like, black nail polish, combat boots, like, skull
they have
necklaces.
To match a little bit.
But what do you... I feel two ways. Part of me is like, be an individual, don't morph into the person you're with. But then the other part of me is like, if I was dating a punk rocker, like, I would probably do the same thing. And not because I don't have self-expression, but because you kind of just start liking the same things your partner likes.
Yeah, that's, I think, what it is.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's always necessarily means, like, she lost herself. She's doing it just for a man. Sometimes it's just like, nah, like, this is what we're into right now.
Yeah.
I'm also super fickle like that. Like, my style changes every 6 months. So I could see myself doing that. And then just, like, the next month being back to, like, wearing pink.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for today. There's not that much tea to spill. One thing I wanted to share. I think I talked about this last week or the week before, but last weekend was the weekend of the Twilight Saga. This weekend was the weekend of the Hunger Games.
Oh, my God.
Okay, first of all, the acting in the Hunger Games is so much better than Twilight.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't even compare the two.
Also, fantastic. I remember watching the Hunger Games. I read the books. I think it was like high school or college. I read the books. Absolutely adored them. Watched the movies. I don't know if I just never watched the final two or if I was, like, just too immature to like them, because I liked the seasons where they were in the actual Hunger Games versus when they were out of it in, like, the real world and there was, like, the war going on. But now as an adult watching the Catching Fire 1 and 2, I think it's called, the last two movies, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Jennifer Lawrence, I miss seeing her on, like, a screen. She's so stunning. She's unbelievable. Liam Hemsworth has a huge part in the movie. Spoiler alert if you've never seen it, but I had no idea her and Peta end up together. Like, I don't know where I've been. Like I said, I read the books. I was shocked. And I was hoping the whole time, like, I was rooting for her to be with Peta because I loved their bond. Then all of a sudden, the last movie, they're together, they have kids, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, you would have thought this was my first time ever seeing these movies. when I've literally read I don't understand. Like, I don't know how I forgot everything, but it was like a new journey for me rewatching these, and I adored it.
I feel like if you can handle Hunger Games, I feel like you might be able to handle Squid Game. I really want you to watch it, but I also, it is a little bit more violent.
So I started watching the Hunger Games because everyone's been talking about Squid Games, whatever. And I was like, I can't handle that. But now I'm in the mood to watch people slaughter each other, so I'm going to watch the Hunger Games.
It makes no sense.
It does make no sense. But I think because there's like a familiarity because I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
Although I might as well have never seen it before. Because you would just think I've never seen it. Like, I had no idea what I was watching. Something would happen, and I was like gasping as if it was my first time. I don't know where my brain went. I don't know why. I just never retained that information. But highly recommend rewatching Twilight, rewatching The Hunger Games. And now I think my next conquest is Harry Potter.
Oh, my God.
So my friend Jenna has been begging me. Well, she texted me like this summer being like, I really want you to read Harry Potter. Like, I really think you'd like it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I know I would like it. I like sci-fi weird shit. I'm like, I know I would like it. I've read the first book. Like, I've started it 5 times in my life, but I'll just reread it if I'm gonna, get into it. The thing is, I'm like, it's a big time commitment. And she's like, well, just watch the movies 1 through 3, then start the books. I'm like, no, if I'm reading the books, I need to read all the books and I need to commit to it. So she's like, okay, this winter, like, you have to promise me you're going to read all of the Harry Potter books. And I think I'm going to do it. But now I also kind of just want to watch the movies.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so, like, not into the Harry Potter
I think
world.
I'd be into it. I also need something to do at night that I'm not on my phone. So, like, maybe it would be a good thing to just pick up, like, before bed.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to do it, guys. You know what? Maybe I'll watch the first movie because I have read that first book so many freaking times. Like, I've started it so many times that maybe I will just watch the first movie and then start on the second book.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
So I might do that this weekend. Join me. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. We will be back next week with our 50th episode. Talk to you later. Bye. I'm telling you, I'm dyslexic with numbers. Okay, Emily just made a good point. She's like, you keep telling everyone you're on your 50th episode. I'm on my 40th episode. What's wrong with me?
You mentioned it in the last podcast, and I was like, wait, this can't be right. And I saw it, and I noticed that it was your
I've been
40th.
telling everyone.
And then because then you started the episode today saying your 50th episode. And while you were talking about it, I double checked, but I didn't want to interrupt you because you were like kind of on a roll. And I was like, maybe I'll just tell her after and see what she wants to do. So I just didn't interrupt you.
You guys. It's so weird because just today I was writing 39. Like, I know it's not.
I know
my 50th.
you're the one that writes it, so I had a feeling that you knew, but maybe in the back of my head I was like, maybe this is her 50th and she has like 10 secret episodes somewhere.
No, I have an issue processing numbers. Like, I'm telling you, we were talking about this we were filming something for a different show the other day, and I was like telling everyone how I can't process dates and numbers. I honestly think it's like a learning disability. I will look today I looked 39, but I keep saying 50. I can't like retain. It's so weird. I don't even know how to describe it.
Oh my God. Well, now
guys,
you know.
Next week's my 40th episode. We just needed to put a little correction in there at the end. It doesn't really matter anyway, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But I just thought I hit this like milestone.
Well, yeah, 50th is definitely a milestone, but so is 40th. So
is 40. All right. Love you guys. Bye.